As states continue to get hammered financially and budget holes growing deeper and deeper, President Trump and Mitch McConnell continue to play politics with the fates of tens of millions of people. Now, every state in the union, they're suffering, and in some cases suffering mightily. But the president, he's singling out certain states, and not coincidentally, they have a blue shade, saying it would be unfair to the red states to give the blue states money because the Democratic-led places are, in his words, fiscally irresponsible. Trump also doubling down, in effect, trying to extort those blue states by forcing them, attempting to at least, to change immigration policies in order to qualify for any federal cash.
You have to look, because a lot of people are talking, I assume your next question would be about states. And Steve and I talk about it, and I talk about it with Mitch and with Kevin and with everybody. And the problem with the states is we're not looking to recover 25 years of bad management and to give them the money that they lost. That's unfair to other states. Now, if it's COVID related, I guess we can talk about it. But we'd want certain things also, including sanctuary city adjustments, because we have so many people in sanctuary cities, which I don't even think are popular, even by radical left folks.
This thing all started when the Republican leader in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, he had this to say.
I would certainly be in favor of allowing states to use the bankruptcy route. It saves some cities, and there's no good reason for it not to be available.
Governor Cuomo, for one, was livid about all this.
The Democratic states have been supporting them for years. New York, every year, $29 billion more paid in than it gets out. And then you look at the Republicans who now say, well, we don't want to help the Democratic states. They are actually the states that have been taking more every year.
Now, the funny thing when we talk about blue states and red states are blue states, without a doubt, give a whole lot more grain to Washington than they get, and Mitch's home in Kentucky, certainly a major taker. The chart, it tells the story. Over the past 4 fiscal years, Kentucky took in $148 billion more from D.C. than it sent it. For New York, as an example, the numbers are almost a complete reversal. The Empire State giving D.C. $116 billion more than it took in. Same story with New Jersey, Massachusetts, and the other states listed here. They give more than they get, and it's not even close. I want to bring in my next guest. He recently wrote a piece in the Washington Post about the very subject, columnist Allan Sloan. And Allan, I like the way that you put this, because the Roosevelt Institute had done a study, and you said they're very polite. They call it the givers and the getters. Rockefeller, you said, no, this is the moocher and the sucker states. And you put it pretty clear. I mean, listen, I'm not a babe in the woods, but I was even shocked about the cynicism and the hypocrisy even trying this from McConnell.
Yeah, well, I'm a business writer, so I'm used to dealing with cynicism and stuff like that. But I couldn't believe it. I'm sitting there. There's a term where I come from called chutzpah, which means gall. So here's a guy whose state is the biggest taker there is once you do the numbers right. And he's out there saying, well, these other states that we're taking money from don't need help. It is just absurd.
By the way, Allan, why is New York and New Jersey, by a comfortable margin, the most impacted states when California, for example, has a bigger economy? Why is it the concentration on these northeastern states here in particular that, in terms of as the givers here, or as you say, the suckers, they're the most impacted?
Sure, because, all right, New York and New Jersey are very high income states and very high tax states. And we, using New York and New Jersey as we have relatively few federal facilities here. So we're huge givers and we don't get that much back. California is also, sends a ton of money to Washington, but it's got a ton of federal facilities, so it gets it back. So it has a smaller balance of payments deficit than New York and New Jersey has.
Allan, the other thing is, while this was shocking, and I got to admit, this isn't an act for TV, I couldn't believe when I heard what McConnell said, for all the reasons you've laid out. Maybe it shouldn't have been as much of a shock, because they've tried this before. I remember after 9/11, Ted Cruz, to me, was the poster child. He didn't want to send the $20 billion that New York was looking for, but yet he had, as you said, the chutzpah to show up for a fundraiser in New York. But they eventually gave the money. We saw this after Sandy as well. This regionalism and this politics, it's not the first time we've seen D.C., even in the face of a natural disaster or whatever else, trying to hold up money with a blue and a red calculation.
Well, that's true, and I suspect that if you or I lived in Texas or Kentucky, we'd see that the carrying on about the evils of New York or the evils of New Jersey or the evils of the Northeast is probably a big political winner in parts of Texas and parts of Kentucky, which I'm guessing is why they do it. I mean, I don't know Cruz. I've never spoken with him. I don't know McConnell. I'm never going to know McConnell. But I think they're playing to their audience in large measure. But boy, when they have a problem, they don't hesitate to stick their hands out for money, do they?
Literally, in a series of amazing stories over the last few months, this one almost top of the list in terms of, as you said, the nerve of McConnell. But Allan, I appreciate a few minutes today. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Rich.
All right, everyone, when we come back, call it a tale of two presidents. Barack Obama and Donald Trump could not be more different. And after the break, I'll show you nothing to do with politics, a perfect example of exactly what I mean.